If you're over 60, there's a food in your fridge that you've spent your whole life believing is healthy, but it could be silently increasing your risk of a stroke while you sleep. No chest pain, no warning. One moment you're fine, and the next you're slurring your words, having trouble lifting your arms or losing your balance. As a neurologist, I have seen this in many elderly people. Not because they smoke, not because they eat fried food, but because of a vegetable. Yes, a seemingly harmless vegetable, but it starts a dangerous chain reaction in the aging body. We have all heard, eating lots of green vegetables is like a tonic, but there is a truth that few people talk about. In the elderly, some types of vegetables, if eaten at the wrong time or combined with commonly used medications, can increase the risk of cerebral hemorrhage, blood clots, and sudden increases in blood pressure. Today, I'm going to share with you 9 common vegetables that can secretly harm your brain, along with smarter ways to eat them so you can still enjoy them without sacrificing your health. And believe me, the last vegetable on this list is one that most seniors eat every week, but it's the one with the highest risk. Spinach, the brain's two-faced friend for decades. Spinach has been hailed as a superfood, rich in iron, magnesium, and fiber. It appears in salads, green smoothies, and nutritional menus for the elderly. But for people over 65, if eaten incorrectly or at the wrong time, spinach can become a silent threat to the brain. As we age, our blood vessels lose their elasticity. Arteries, which are normally soft and flexible, become stiffer. In addition, many older adults take calcium supplements, vitamin D, or blood pressure medications. The balance in the blood becomes fragile. Spinach is high in oxalates, natural substances that bind to calcium. In young, healthy people, oxalates are usually excreted. But in older people, especially when kidney function is reduced, or if they take a lot of calcium vitamin D, oxalates can easily accumulate, forming calcium oxalate crystals in the blood. Not only affecting the kidneys, these crystals can also harden the arteries, especially the small vessels that feed the brain. When the lumen of the vessels narrows, the risk of forming microthrombosis increases. These small blood clots gradually block and deprive brain cells of oxygen. And if just one larger blood clot moves to the wrong place, the consequence can be an ischemic stroke. It's the kind of stroke that leaves you waking up one morning unable to lift your arms, or even call your partner's name. Let me tell you about one patient, Harold Brenner, 76, a retired Milwaukee firefighter. He is known for his discipline when it comes to health. Every night he prepares a spinach salad with some feta cheese and a slice of whole grain bread. He also takes vitamin D and calcium for stronger bones, as he likes to say. For years, Harold believed he was doing everything right. But one winter morning, everything changed. He was found slumped at the kitchen table, coffee spilled on the floor, his speech slurred. He had suffered a silent stroke in his sleep. No chest pain, no warning headache, just a sudden loss of speech and movement. Scans showed calcified, hardened blood vessels in his brain. Blood tests showed elevated calcium and oxalate levels, a particularly dangerous combination. The most likely cause? Eating spinach at night combined with long-term calcium and vitamin D supplements. His body silently created ideal conditions for blood clots to form, until a small clot moved into the wrong place and blocked blood flow to his brain. Harold survived, but can no longer drive and must walk with assistance. He choked up and said, "Doctor, I just wanted to do something healthy. I didn't know that salad could hurt me." It's a heartbreaking reminder that even the healthiest habits can become risky if they're not appropriate for your age and health. Lesson for you. If you are taking calcium, vitamin D, or have cardiovascular or kidney disease, limit your spinach intake at night. Only eat it in the morning, and it is best to consult your doctor before combining it with supplements. Remember, after age 65, more greens do not always mean more benefits. And if that surprises you, wait until the next vegetable. One that is often touted as heart healthy, but in older people can cause brain bleeding instead of preventing clots, is broccoli. Broccoli may pose a potential risk for brain hemorrhage. The problem is not the vegetable itself, but what it contains and how it interacts with the aging body, especially when combined with medications that many seniors take every day. Broccoli is loaded with vitamin K, a fat-soluble vitamin that plays a key role in blood clotting. In young people, vitamin K helps wounds heal and prevents excessive bleeding. But in older adults who are taking blood-thinning medications like warfarin, Plavix, or aspirin, vitamin K can cause a dangerous imbalance. Eating too much or not keeping up with your daily intake of broccoli can make your blood too thin or too thick, and you won't even know it's happening until something goes wrong. I remember one patient very well, Clara Newton, 82, a retired elementary school teacher in Pennsylvania. She prided herself on being healthy, taking her medications as prescribed, eating a healthy diet. Every night she steamed a bowl of broccoli, drizzled with olive oil and lemon, and often said, "It keeps my heart young." What she didn't know was that her habit was slowly destabilizing her anticoagulant medication. Her international normalized ratio, INR, fluctuated wildly. One afternoon, after a mild headache and brief confusion, she suddenly collapsed in her living room. At the hospital, scans revealed a brain hemorrhage, not caused by high blood pressure or trauma, but because her blood had become too thin to clot. When my daughter told me that she ate broccoli every day, I was truly heartbroken. Not because broccoli is bad, but because a seemingly harmless food, if used incorrectly, can cause a silent storm in the fragile body of old age. Clara was lucky to survive, but now has to walk with a walker, and her voice is slow and labored. She shares her story with other elderly people with a short message. Don't think that healthy food is harmless. At our age, everything requires caution. The important lesson here is consistency and awareness. If you are on blood thinners, this doesn't mean you have to avoid broccoli completely, but you need to eat a steady amount, not suddenly increasing or decreasing it, and always let your doctor know. Sudden changes in vitamin K levels can cause the medication to stop working, leading to dangerous blood clots or sudden brain hemorrhages that can take away your memory, speech, and even independence. Remember, blood vessels weaken over time. A small hemorrhage in a young person may heal, but in someone over 70, it can have permanent consequences. And if you're thinking, "I eat broccoli regularly and I'm also taking blood thinners," don't panic. But do something. Call your doctor. Get your INR checked regularly. That's how you protect yourself from losing the most precious thing, your freedom and independence. Keep a record of what you eat, and never assume that a heart-healthy food is safe for everyone, especially after age 60. If the previous story makes you nervous, that's because it's necessary. Because the goal isn't to create fear, it's to create awareness. Now, let's talk about a seemingly harmless, even refreshing vegetable that can secretly dehydrate your brain while you sleep and mess with your blood pressure. That's right, romaine lettuce. 3. Romaine lettuce. Low in calories but dangerous at night. People over 65 are often advised to eat salad for dinner. Light, low in calories, easy to digest. It sounds reasonable, especially when the goal is to maintain weight and protect the heart. But there is a little-known truth. A bowl of romaine lettuce at night can secretly increase the risk of stroke the next morning. This is because romaine is high in water and fiber, but it is also a natural diuretic. In young, healthy people, this effect is almost negligible. But in older people, especially those taking blood pressure medications or diuretics, the extra water loss can be enough to cause mild dehydration overnight. The problem is that as we age, The signs of dehydration are less obvious than thirst or a dry mouth. You may not feel it, but your brain's blood vessels need water to stay supple, elastic, and carry oxygen. When you're dehydrated, your blood becomes thicker and stickier, more like syrup than water, and it seeps into weakened vessels. This thickening increases the risk of blood clots. For people who already have heart disease, atrial fibrillation, or are taking multiple medications, the risk is even higher. And even a small change in blood pressure during sleep can cause a blood clot to get stuck in the brain, blocking blood flow to nerve cells, causing a silent stroke. I remember well my patient, Mr. Leon Carter, 75, a retired factory worker in Indianapolis. He was quite healthy, took only blood pressure medication, lived an active life, and exercised regularly. Every night he ate a large salad with romaine lettuce, cucumber, and a little vinegar. He considered himself very healthy. But one morning his wife discovered that he was confused, slurring his words, and his right arm was weak. Doctors determined that he had suffered a mild stroke in his sleep. Blood tests showed he was mildly dehydrated. His blood was thicker than normal. And he had an electrolyte imbalance, enough to trigger a dangerous chain reaction of blood clotting. In the hospital, he looked at me and said, "I thought I ate healthy. I never thought lettuce could do this to me." Sadly, cases like Leon's are not uncommon, especially in people who eat salad at night while taking blood pressure medication or following a low-salt diet that reduces water retention. Romaine lettuce itself is not bad, but eating it at the wrong time and in the wrong circumstances can be the last straw that your brain can't handle. Remember, your body at 70 or 80 is not the same as your body at 40. Even a small amount of dehydration from diuretic foods, medications, or not drinking enough water at night can change your blood chemistry, making it thicker and more prone to clotting. And the first organ to be affected is the brain, which needs a steady, continuous blood flow. So what should you do? If you eat salad in the evening, especially with romaine, make sure to drink plenty of water. It's best to save salad for lunch when it's easier for your body to process without causing overnight dehydration. Always monitor your blood pressure regularly, especially if you are taking medications that reduce fluid in your body. Mr. Leon recovered, but it took months of speech and physical therapy. "I wish someone had told me that even healthy food has its own rules as you get older," he once told me. And that's why I'm sharing this with you. Not to scare you, but to empower you to take charge of your health. Because the next thing may surprise you even more. A common vegetable in almost every kitchen, seemingly sweet and harmless. But when eaten raw, especially in the elderly, it can silently spike blood sugar, disrupt brain circulation during sleep. That's right. I'm talking about raw carrots. And what you're about to hear may change the way you look at this seemingly harmless evening snack. Raw carrots, the risk of hidden blood sugar for the brain at first glance. Raw carrots seem like the perfect snack. Crunchy, naturally sweet, low in calories, high in beta-carotene, and known to help improve eyesight. Many older adults keep them in their refrigerators to snack on during evening TV viewing, as an innocent alternative to candy or chips. But the little-known truth: raw carrots, if eaten at the wrong time or in too many, can silently impede blood circulation to the brain and increase the risk of stroke while sleeping. The problem isn't the carrots themselves, but their impact on blood sugar and insulin. As we age, our brain's blood vessels become much more sensitive. And while carrots have a lower glycemic index than refined sugar, when eaten raw and alone, they still provide a quick-acting source of carbohydrates. In young people with good insulin sensitivity, this rarely causes a problem. But in older people, in older adults, especially those with prediabetes, type 2 diabetes or poor circulation, Even a mild spike in blood sugar at night can set off a dangerous chain reaction. Imagine this. You eat a few raw carrots before bed, thinking it's a healthy snack. Within minutes, your blood sugar rises. Your body immediately releases insulin to lower it. But in many older adults, the insulin response is often slow or too strong, causing blood sugar to drop dramatically during sleep, a phenomenon called nocturnal hypoglycemia. This is not harmless. When blood sugar drops, the body releases stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. These hormones constrict blood vessels, raise blood pressure, and make blood more likely to clot, a dangerous storm for a brain already affected by hardened or narrowed blood vessels due to aging. When combined with mild overnight dehydration, the risk of small blood clots forming in the brain's blood vessels increases, leading to a mini-stroke, TIA, or silent stroke. This is what happened to my patient. Leah Henderson, 78, a former nurse in Portland. She was active, alert, and believed she was taking care of her health naturally. She ditched processed sweets and replaced them with fresh vegetables, especially carrots, which she proudly called her bedtime snack. But then she started waking up feeling strange, mild confusion, dizziness, numbness in her hands. She assumed it was just a sign of aging, until one morning she couldn't remember how to make coffee, a habit she'd had for 40 years. Her husband rushed her to the emergency room, where it was discovered she'd suffered a mini-stroke, caused by fluctuations in blood sugar and nocturnal vasoconstriction. Tests also showed early signs of insulin resistance and microthrombosis in the small blood vessels of the brain. I thought I was doing the right thing. I never thought carrots could be harmful, she told me. Her story reminds us that the problem is not the carrots, but the way our aging bodies process food differently. What was beneficial at 40 can become a risk at 75. If you love carrots, don't worry too much, but use them wisely. Do not eat raw or eat alone at night. Pair with protein or healthy fat during the day, e.g. carrots with hummus or a boiled egg, to reduce the glycemic impact. Talk to your doctor about your dinner habits, especially if you are taking medication for blood sugar, blood pressure, or cholesterol. Leah was lucky to recover, but her confidence and independence were shaken. Now she shares her story to warn others that even healthy food needs a bit of a routine as we age. Garlic has long been hailed as a natural miracle drug. In traditional medicine, it is known for its blood pressure lowering, cholesterol lowering, anti-inflammatory, immune boosting, and cardiovascular supporting properties. Many older adults proudly add fresh garlic to their daily meals or take garlic extract pills, believing they are protecting their hearts and blood vessels. But there is a truth that most people rarely hear. In the elderly, especially those who are taking anticoagulants or low-dose aspirin, garlic can become a double-edged sword. Garlic is a powerful natural anticoagulant. This may be fine for young, healthy people, but in older people, when combined with drugs like warfarin, Plavix, Xarelto, or aspirin, the blood can become too thin. And in a brain vascular system that is already fragile with age, even a small blood vessel bursting can have serious consequences. A brain hemorrhage. I once treated a patient, Mr. Thomas Reeves, 81 years old, a former railroad engineer in Missouri. After a heart procedure, he was prescribed anticoagulants and told to avoid dangerous interactions. But after reading an article praising the benefits of garlic, he took 600 milligrams of garlic extract capsules every day and also ate a clove of raw garlic with dinner. He did not tell his doctor because he thought garlic was only beneficial, completely harmless. 3 weeks later, Thomas began experiencing unusual symptoms: severe headaches, photophobia, nausea, slurred speech, and confusion. When he was admitted to the hospital, a CT scan revealed that he had suffered a brain hemorrhage caused by a ruptured blood vessel in his brain. The cause? Blood that was too thin to clot quickly enough. And the culprit was a combination of prescription drugs and garlic, which he thought would only do good. It's not just the medicine. It's the garlic, too, I had to explain to his family. The lesson here is not that garlic is bad, but that older bodies process things differently. A food that is good for one person can be a risk for another, especially when combined with medications. I just wanted to do my heart a favor, Thomas said weakly during his recovery. I had no idea I was putting myself in this position. And that was the tragedy. He had no warning signs, no chest pain, no fall, no sudden spike in blood pressure. Just a subtle change in blood composition, until a small blood vessel in the brain couldn't take it anymore and burst. That's the level of fragility that the body faces after 70. Just one drop over the threshold, and the consequences can be devastating. It is important to understand that blood vessels become weak and fragile as we age. Anything that interferes with clotting increases the risk of bleeding. Garlic, especially in supplement form, has a much higher concentration of active ingredients than garlic in cooking. It is easy to underestimate the power of a natural herb when combined with modern medicine. That doesn't mean garlic is bad, but it should be taken seriously as a medicine. Taking it in high doses or at the wrong time can turn it into a potentially risky drug, thinning your blood to the point where it can't be stopped when needed. If you're over 65, taking blood-thinning medication, or have had a stroke, TIA, talk to your doctor before taking garlic supplements. Be on the lookout for signs of bruising, dizziness, unusual headaches, or bleeding that doesn't stop. And most importantly, natural doesn't mean safe when your body changes with age. Thomas eventually returned home, but he has some short-term memory loss and requires daily care. He is just one of many seniors who think they are doing the right thing, unaware that healthy choices can sometimes backfire without medical guidance. And if you think garlic is the only danger in the kitchen, think again. Because next, we will learn about a vegetable so familiar that it is present in almost every kitchen, but it can silently take away your balance, disrupt your heart rhythm, and cause dizziness and confusion that you don't expect. That's right, it's an onion, and the truth about onions may change the way you cook from now on. So are onions really dangerous? The answer lies in how they interact with aging blood vessels, especially when combined with drugs that already lower blood pressure or thin the blood. Onions contain a natural substance called quercetin, a powerful antioxidant that is also a vasodilator. It helps blood vessels widen and lower blood pressure. This may sound good, but when your body is already using drugs to do this, the double whammy can cause your blood pressure to drop too low. And it's during sleep, when your body is at its most vulnerable, that this can happen. It may not sound serious, but the truth is more frightening. In the elderly, blood pressure drops too low, meaning the brain does not receive enough oxygen and nutrients. The body will respond by constricting blood vessels to protect the vital organ. But this constriction can happen suddenly, unevenly, and in blood vessels that are already hardened. It can easily create blood clots. A patient of mine, George Langston, 80, a former high school football coach in Georgia, experienced this. After being prescribed beta blockers to control his blood pressure, he decided to add a natural boost. For 2 months, he ate a salad of raw onions dressed in vinegar every night, believing he was doubling his heart protection. At first, he felt stronger and lighter, but then he began to experience lightheadedness in the morning and dizziness when he stood up. One night, he stood up too quickly and passed out, hitting his shoulder on the table. The next morning, he couldn't remember what day it was, and his speech began to slur. His wife rushed him to the hospital. The diagnosis, a small ischemic stroke, caused by a blood clot in the part of the brain that controls speech. Blood pressure charts showed that his blood pressure had dropped sharply at night, then spiked again in the early morning. When doctors investigated his eating habits, they discovered that the combination of raw onions and medication had caused his blood vessels to dilate excessively, then constrict suddenly, a perfect storm for blood clots to form. George recovered with therapy, but could no longer drive and his memory was affected. "I just wanted to do my heart good, but I ended up starving my brain," he said tearfully. "And that's what I want you to remember. As we age, our bodies become more sensitive to changes in everything from blood sugar to hydration to blood pressure. Foods that were helpful at 40 can be risky at 75, especially when combined with medications. Onions can still be part of a healthy diet, but for older people with heart conditions, eating a lot at night or eating them raw in large quantities can be dangerous." Corn, sweet but hidden danger for many Americans. Corn is a food associated with warmth and familiarity. From family barbecues to hearty pots of soup to boiled corn with butter at dinner, this golden grain has long been considered safe and nutritious. Many older Americans have included corn in their daily diet for decades, believing it to be a healthy choice. But the little-known truth, eating corn, especially in the evening or close to bedtime, can silently increase your risk of stroke while you sleep. The reason is that corn, although called a vegetable, is nutritionally more like starch. It is rich in natural sugars which are easily converted into glucose. For the elderly, especially those with mild insulin resistance, high blood pressure, or vascular disease, a rapid rise in blood sugar after a meal is not only inconvenient, but also a threat to the brain. When you eat corn for dinner, your blood sugar levels rise rapidly. Your body releases insulin to regulate it. But in many people over 65, insulin doesn't work as well, so blood sugar doesn't drop steadily. Instead, it can cause a deep drop in blood sugar in the early morning, while you're sleeping. This forces the body to respond by releasing stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. These hormones constrict blood vessels and send blood pressure soaring. In young people, the body can compensate to some extent. But in older people, where arteries are already stiff and blood flow to the brain is reduced, the blood sugar swings that accompany this vascular shock can be catastrophic. The result is a dangerous spiral: unstable blood sugar, increased stress hormones, constricted blood vessels, sudden changes in blood pressure, risk of blood clots or ruptured blood vessels in the brain. Darlene's story: sweet corn but silently dangerous. Darlene Abbott, 77, a retired librarian in Iowa, has lived a simple life. She enjoys reading, going to church, and cooking at home. Every morning, she eats a bowl of corn grits with a little honey. At night, boiled corn is a familiar dish in family meals, a taste of childhood that she always cherishes. But over time, her body began sending strange signals: fatigue in the morning, dizziness when standing, difficulty concentrating. Her blood pressure fluctuated, normal one day, skyrocketing the next. Then one morning, her husband found her sitting motionless, her eyes lifeless, and the left side of her body paralyzed. She had suffered a mild ischemic stroke in her sleep. Test results showed high fasting blood sugar, thicker blood than normal, and microvascular damage in the brain. The culprit was not only age, but also the habit of eating a lot of corn, a food rich in starch, high glycemic index, especially in the evening. This blood sugar imbalance silently created conditions for small blood clots to form in the cerebral arteries. "I just thought I ate like my mother did," she said, choking up. "I never thought a seemingly harmless dish could hurt me so much." The lesson is not to cut out muscle entirely, but to respect the changes your body experiences as you age. After age 65, your pancreas slows down and blood flow to your brain weakens. What was once safe at 40 can become a risk at 75. If you still want to eat corn, don't eat alone or close to bedtime. Combine with protein to reduce blood sugar fluctuations. Avoid using late at night. If you have diabetes, prediabetes, or are taking blood pressure medication, talk to your doctor. Your brain and heart health may depend on these seemingly small choices. Asparagus. Delicate on the outside but quietly draining on the inside. At first glance, asparagus seems like one of the healthiest vegetables around. Slim, low-calorie, often featured on cleanse or heart-healthy menus. Many seniors have chosen asparagus over heavy meat dishes, making it a regular dinner staple. But hidden under that pure shell is a silent danger that few people warn about. Asparagus is a natural diuretic. It not only stimulates the body to excrete water through digestion, but also acts at the cellular level. During the day, moderate consumption of asparagus can be beneficial. But if eaten at night, especially by the elderly, the consequences are completely different. The silent danger of asparagus when eaten at night, for older adults taking blood pressure medications, diuretics, or anticoagulants, asparagus can be an unexpected hazard. The reason lies in its natural diuretic effect. Asparagus causes the body to lose water, reducing circulating volume and triggering a dangerous cascade of reactions that can lead to blood clots and even stroke. As we age, our bodies are already less able to retain water. Thirst decreases, kidney function declines, and blood vessels, especially the small capillaries in the brain, become more fragile and less elastic. When we eat asparagus at night, water is pulled out of the blood, causing it to thicken. The thicker the blood, the slower it flows, and the greater the risk of blood clots forming, especially in blood vessels that have hardened with age. These clots often develop silently, then suddenly travel to the brain and cause a blockage. That's exactly what happened to Joanne Ramsey, 79, a former school counselor in Colorado Springs. She prides herself on her healthy lifestyle. No red meat, daily walks, home cooking. Her favorite dinner is steamed asparagus with lemon and olive oil, a dish she credits with keeping her clean and light. However, Joanne was taking blood pressure medication and had a history of mild atrial fibrillation, both factors that increase the risk of blood clots. In addition, she limited her fluid intake at night because she feared having to get up to go to the bathroom. One morning, she woke up in a strange state, slurred speech, unable to remember her address, and foggy-headed. Her husband immediately called an ambulance. A CT scan revealed she had suffered a small ischemic stroke. Blood tests showed a high hematocrit, a sign of blood thickening due to dehydration. Doctors determined that her habit of eating asparagus at night, combined with diuretics and low water intake, had created a perfect storm. After weeks of speech therapy, she recovered somewhat. But her words still stuck with me. I tried to do everything right. I just drained myself in my sleep. It's important to understand that this story isn't meant to make asparagus the enemy, but rather to remind us that after 65, our bodies react differently than they did when we were younger. What was once harmless can become a major risk, especially when combined with medications and a fragile circulatory system. 9. Tomatoes. A stroke. Imitator in your kitchen, for many older adults, tomatoes symbolize freshness and health. Whether sliced into a salad, simmered into pasta sauce, or layered on a sandwich, they feel like one of the safest foods you can eat. Doctors and dietitians often praise them for supporting heart health, skin vitality, and vision. And while that's true in many ways, there's a hidden side that rarely gets discussed. After age 65, especially for those with circulation problems, neurological conditions, or digestive sensitivities, tomatoes can quietly disrupt the body in ways that mimic something far more serious. a stroke. Here's why. Tomatoes naturally contain histamines, tyramines, and solanine compounds. In younger, healthier bodies, these are usually harmless. But in older adults, histamines and tyramines can inflame blood vessels, raise blood pressure, and interfere with vascular tone in the brain. Solanine, a mild neurotoxin found in nightshade vegetables, can irritate the nervous system when consumed in large or frequent amounts. On top of that, the acidity in tomatoes can disrupt magnesium and calcium balance, two minerals essential for healthy nerve signaling and stable circulation. When combined, these effects can create a dangerous mix: vascular instability, nerve irritation, and electrolyte imbalance. The result: dizziness, headaches, blurry vision, numbness, slurred speech, or sudden weakness, symptoms that look alarmingly like a stroke. This isn't just a theory. One of my patients, Mrs. Geraldine Hunt, 83, from Charleston, South Carolina, learned this firsthand. A retired piano teacher with a passion for gardening, Geraldine believed food was the best medicine. She often made rich tomato stews and fresh garden salads, confident she was nourishing her body naturally. But then came the morning she woke up dizzy, with blurred vision and weakness in her right hand. Her husband feared the worst, a stroke, and rushed her to the hospital. The scans, however, showed no clot and no bleeding. Instead, her labs revealed electrolyte imbalances and vascular irritation tied to her diet. After reviewing her meals, the culprit became clear: the heavy tomato-based dishes she'd been enjoying daily. Geraldine recovered, but the scare shook her deeply. "I thought I was eating the healthiest food in my garden," she told me. "I never imagined it could trick my body into thinking I was having a stroke." The lesson isn't to eliminate tomatoes completely, but to respect how an aging body reacts differently than it once did. Foods that feel harmless at 40 can behave unpredictably at 80, especially when combined with medications or fragile circulation. Every evening, Geraldine enjoyed a warm bowl of homemade tomato soup filled with garlic and herbs. To her, it was comforting, wholesome, part of her nightly ritual. She wasn't overweight. She didn't smoke. Her blood pressure, as she proudly put it, was well under control. But one morning, everything changed. Geraldine woke up confused, her head pounding with a severe headache. Her vision was blurred, her speech slurred. Terrified, her daughter rushed her to the ER, convinced it was a stroke. Yet the scans told a different story. No clot, no bleeding. Structurally, her brain appeared normal. But her lab results painted a more troubling picture: elevated inflammation, electrolyte imbalances, and mild cerebral vasospasms, sudden tightening of the brain's blood vessels. This wasn't a classic stroke. It was what doctors call a stroke mimic, a condition that looks and feels like a stroke, but is driven by chemical and vascular instability rather than an actual clot or bleed. When we reviewed her habits, the culprit became clear. Geraldine's nightly tomato soup, combined with a low-sodium diet, mild dehydration, and fragile aging vessels, had pushed her brain into a vulnerable state. Too many histamines, sudden pressure swings, and electrolyte shifts created the perfect storm. It didn't take a clot to cause damage, just the wrong chemistry at the wrong time. Geraldine recovered with treatment, but not fully. Her short-term memory never returned to baseline, and she now lives with lingering anxiety around food. "I thought I was doing everything right," she confessed. "But my body doesn't react the way it used to." And that is the heart of this message. After 65, your body changes dramatically. Foods that once healed can now irritate, destabilize, and even endanger your brain and circulation. Tomatoes aren't bad, but for many seniors, especially those sensitive to nightshades or taking heart and nerve medications, they need to be eaten with caution. Avoid them late at night. I'd watch for warning signs like swelling, headaches, or foggy thinking. And always check with your doctor if tomato-rich meals might interact with your medications. One bowl of soup shouldn't derail your health, but ignoring your body's whispers can. Geraldine's story isn't unique. Many older adults are living one meal away from a health scare, not from fast food or processed snacks, but from the very foods they've trusted for decades. So what now? If even vegetables carry hidden risks, what can you safely eat? What truly supports the aging brain? That's where we're headed next. In the final part of this series, I'll show you the foods that actually protect your brain and circulation, senior-safe meals that nourish without hidden harm, and the simple strategies that can keep your mind sharp, your balance steady, and your independence intact. Because after all the warnings and all the science, what we really need is hope. And that hope is real, found in awareness, simplicity, and the right foods for the body you have today. When we talk about vegetables and their hidden risks, it can feel surprising, even unsettling. You may be wondering, how could foods I've trusted my whole life suddenly become harmful? Or even, is anything safe to eat anymore? Let me reassure you, this isn't about fear. It's about knowledge. As a neurologist who has worked with seniors for decades, I've learned a simple but powerful truth. Your body at 65 is not the same as it was at 40 or 50. Your blood vessels are more fragile. Your hydration needs are different. Your medications change the way food interacts with your system. And your brain, the most delicate organ you have, depends on stability and balance, especially at night. Often, the very foods you thought were helping can quietly do harm. Leon, who collapsed after eating Roma tomatoes nightly, or Marlene, whose asparagus habit left her dehydrated. These aren't rare cases. They're everyday people, smart people doing their best to stay healthy. What they were missing was context. Health isn't only what you eat. It's also when you eat, how you combine foods, and how your medications, hydration, blood pressure, and sleep all intersect. With age, blood thickens, vessels stiffen, and pressure shifts more easily. If you're eating foods that thin your blood, spike your sugar, or dehydrate you, even so-called healthy foods, you could unknowingly increase your risk of stroke, memory loss, or cognitive decline. But here's the hope. You are not powerless. Awareness itself is medicine, and the choices you make from this awareness are what protect you. So where do you start? Keep it simple. Focus on whole, nourishing foods your grandparents would recognize. Leafy greens like spinach, cooked and in moderation. Berries, nuts, melons, and lean proteins that provide steady energy. Eat your heavier meals earlier in the day. Don't skip hydration at night. A small glass of room-temperature water before bed can make a big difference. And above all, talk to your doctor. Bring these questions to your appointments. Is this supplement safe with my medications? Should I avoid this food at night? Could this vegetable thin my blood too much? A good doctor will help you adjust your habits to your body today, not the body you had 30 years ago. And that's okay. You are wiser now, more experienced, more attuned to your body's signals. You can step in when it whispers before it has to scream, because you deserve more than years added to your life. You deserve clarity, memory, energy, and confidence. You deserve mornings without dizziness and evenings without confusion. You deserve a brain that supports you, not one quietly slipping away because of something as simple as a snack. So I invite you to take just one small step today. Maybe you move your salad to lunchtime. Maybe you check labels for sodium or vitamin K. Maybe you simply drink that extra glass of water tonight. Whatever it is, let it come from strength, not fear. You are not fragile. You are awakening, growing wiser, more aware, and more capable of protecting yourself. That is what safeguards your brain. And if this message made you pause, reflect, or rethink even one small habit, then something good has already begun. It is never too late to protect your future, never too late to advocate for yourself, and never too late to learn. Let this be your wake-up call. Let this next chapter, built on safer habits, clearer choices, and deeper understanding, be the most empowered one yet. If this spoke to you, I'd love to hear your reflections. Share one thing you've learned and plan to apply in your life. If it didn't resonate, leave a 0. Either way, your feedback matters. And if you found this valuable, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more. Thank you for watching. And here's to living life on your own terms.